People used to call Genio a pig. Yeah, middle school nicknames never miss, just not in a good way. Even his own friend clowned him without mercy. Genio couldn't stand looking at his reflection. But 77 days later, people started wondering if this was even the same guy. And nope, this isn't a glow-up, it's a full system update. To understand how things flipped this hard, we need to roll back 6 years. Back to the day Genio pulled off something no one else in Korea had ever done. After 6 years of grinding, he cleared all 99 endings of a video game. Yes, 99, because one ending is clearly too mainstream. He was the only player in the entire country to reach that point. For a moment, it felt like the story wrapped up with a perfect victory. Cue the credits, except not really. Then his phone rang. It was his mom. His parents wanted to know where he was, at Seoul Station. And the real issue? His college entrance exam was in 2 days. Timing so bad it almost feels intentional. His mother nearly exploded in anger, while his father quietly sent taxi money, playing the silent support role like a true side character. Genio thought that was the end of it. But right as he decided to quit the game, a system window popped up, because of course it did. This wasn't a normal game. Everyone else had already moved on. Genio alone kept playing, earning himself the title of addict. Man really said one more run for 6 years straight. After failing the law exam 4 times, he somehow ended up becoming a prosecutor. He even hit #1 on Billboard while working as a street musician. Yeah, this game hands out achievements like daily login rewards. And then it happened. Genio got hit with an electric shock, because apparently that's how skill trees unlock now. A hidden ability appeared. 99% talent, 1% effort. Balanced? Absolutely not. Soon after the effects kicked in, a man began questioning him. Genio answered everything effortlessly. Knowledge flooded his mind. All those text files he memorized in the game finally became useful. Grinding lore paid off in real life. Who knew? Even Ji-Jun, his friend, couldn't believe it. Then came another shock. Genio had scored the highest grade in the entire country. Ji-Jun was completely stunned. The school principal nearly fainted from excitement. For the first time ever, Genio's future looked bright. His admission to Korea University was guaranteed. His father celebrated like they'd just won the World Cup. Honestly, fair reaction. After that, his parents asked what he'd do before starting university. Genio said he'd travel alone. But in reality, he was chasing another skill. Of course he was. To unlock it, he had to perform 108 bows for 77 days in front of a Buddha statue in Gap Boy. Previously, he cheated using a photo. This time, no shortcuts. Character development hitting hard. On top of that, the path was under construction. He considered quitting more than once, but he couldn't. Every step reminded him of who he used to be. The guy everyone laughed at. The boy who hated his own reflection. As he struggled up the mountain, he remembered his mother's words. She worked tirelessly so he'd never go hungry, and all she wanted was for him to enjoy life. Simple goal, heavy impact. So Genio kept going, day after day, bow after bow, for 77 days. Finally, the monk returned. And when it was over, Genio was completely transformed. Cut to Incheon Airport. Several girls were waiting excitedly for their idols. As soon as they appeared, cameras started flashing. Bodyguards struggled to keep the crowd back. Someone asked a guard if any celebrity had gotten separated because of the fans. The guard said no. Then the girls mistook a celebrity for some random guy. Plot twist loading. When the guard turned around, he started getting nervous. The girls assumed he was a rookie actor, which made sense. Genio was ridiculously handsome now. Glow Up went from illegal to mythical. Meanwhile, the traitor was searching for the meeting spot. At the same time, Genio nervously insisted over the phone that he hadn't had plastic surgery. Ji-Jun wasn't buying it, not even a little. Genio kept sending photos to prove his transformation. When determination shows up, solutions follow. This ability could literally change someone's appearance after 77 days. Even someone stuck in the mud could eventually bloom like a lotus if they kept going. Deep message, unexpected source. Inside the plane, a flight attendant asked if anyone needed anything. Another showed up with a handkerchief, thinking he was coughing. Then a third brought water, saying he looked thirsty. Yeah, all for Genio. Man couldn't even breathe in peace. He didn't know where to look anymore. Genio felt incredibly awkward. When he accepted the water, he got another note. At this point, he realized just how powerful looks could be. The number of notes he'd received probably exceeded all the contacts in his phone. Social stats maxed out overnight. This time, everyone in the language program was the same age as him. It was a school trip. Genio blushed. Now he wasn't just smart, he was attractive too. He wanted to make a lot of friends. In Milan, Italy, night had already fallen. Inside the hotel, Genio lay on his bed. He felt uneasy because no one had talked to him. Being ignored bothered him. The members of the Big Belly language program were elite students who had made it to the top. Naturally, their confidence was way above average. But then Lee Genio showed up and shattered the balance. He entered like an overpowered character, breaking the system. Everyone was shocked to learn he also spoke Italian, because why not add another skill? Then came a second unexpected blow. It was a basic rule of human interaction, and Genio just didn't get it. Social mechanics still locked. He cried, wishing he wouldn't spend the next 2 weeks alone. The next day, sitting at the dining table, he felt dizzy from lack of sleep. He ate alone, clearly nervous. Trying the food, he realized it was delicious. As he bit into fresh, crispy bread, he wondered what kind of jam was inside. Suddenly, he noticed someone drinking tea. He turned to look. Then he smiled, feeling a little better. Small victories count. He picked up his coffee and reminded himself not to get discouraged. After all, he was drinking coffee in Milan. Not bad for someone who once avoided mirrors. But the moment the coffee touched his lips, Genio instantly spat it out. The taste hit him hard, way too bitter, and he started wondering if he'd ordered the wrong drink. Yeah, bro expected sugar and got reality instead. Genio tensed up when a girl walked over to him. She explained that in Italy, espresso just comes like that. No sugarcoating, no mercy. He found her really pretty and admitted he probably should have done some research first. She asked if he was a model or an actor. Genio said he was just a student. They talked for a bit. Then she handed him her card and told him he should make use of his potential. Genio was completely caught off guard when she suddenly kissed him. Casual Tuesday behavior, apparently. She started to walk away telling him he should act in a way that matched his looks. Then her eyes locked onto something, and she added that if she had seen him without glasses earlier, she would have gone straight for the lips. Genio just stood there, brain offline. He couldn't process what had just happened. Genio kept replaying the moment in his head. He looked down at the card, realizing he needed to save that number immediately. Upon closer inspection, he saw it belonged to an Italian modeling agency, and that's when it clicked. This had been a street casting. Man accidentally entered a side quest and got recruited. Genio grabbed his face and shouted that things were getting way too intense. Critical mental damage confirmed. He snapped back when someone asked what exactly was so intense. It was Kim Sunmi, the supervisor of the language exchange trip. She pointed out that for someone claiming to be exhausted, he'd woken up pretty early. She also said it'd be a waste to sleep through their time in Italy. Sunmi added that she'd gotten up early too, while the rest were still asleep. Genio said he was too excited to sleep, even though deep down he knew that wasn't true. Yeah, even he didn't buy that excuse. He thought maybe Sunmi, like an older sister figure, could help with the worries he'd been carrying since yesterday. He tried to bring it up, but right then, the waiter arrived with the food. Both Sunmi and Genio froze when they saw it. Genio suddenly shouted something about reset life. Sunmi looked at him like he'd just spoken alien. She told him to call the owner because the order was clearly wrong. When Genio explained that his companion hadn't ordered that much, the owner said there was no mistake. Genio started getting uneasy and asked why all that food had been served. He figured the guy was scamming tourists who didn't speak the language. Classic travel paranoia kicking in. The owner replied that he simply wanted those bright eyes to stay in his cafe a little longer. Flirting level, unexpected boss fight. Genio got even more nervous when Sunmi, now with a terrifying expression, asked what the owner had just said. He hesitated, unsure if he should tell her. Sunmi told him to hurry up because she was starving. After that, sunlight poured in brightly. Sunmi ended up thanking the owner. Genio asked if it didn't bother her that someone had just flirted with her for no reason. She said it was just a kind, harmless gesture. Genio tensed again when Sunmi added that he should be more concerned about a beautiful woman trying to hit on him that early in the morning. He felt embarrassed while she calmly sipped her drink. He wondered how someone who could get almost anything she wanted could still be so innocent. His thoughts started drifting elsewhere, but Sunmi decided to give him some advice. She asked what he thought was the most important element of a broadcast. Some people might say attractive performers, high-end cameras, or perfect lighting. She explained that first, you have to catch the audience's eye with a strong image so they keep watching and boost the ratings. Genio was surprised when Sunmi asked if that same principle was behind the success of Challenge Big Bell. So yeah, It's all strategy at the end of the day. Sunmi explained that the word broadcast comes from broad and cast. Then she added that once you grab someone's attention and have something to say, you should deliver it without hesitation. She pointed out that the beautiful woman earlier first drew Jinio in with her looks, then gave him the card, and that the cafe owner had captured her attention with his service before expressing himself. Sunmi asked how awkward it would be to give someone flowers as a sign of affection if they didn't even like them. Jinio remembered when Anyadwi confessed to him. That memory made him uncomfortable, so he agreed. After that, he asked Sunmi if she had already delivered her message. She said that was more than enough. No tutorial needed, lesson cleared. Outside, a bus was already waiting for them. Someone nearby was reading a book. It was a very beautiful girl who struggled a bit with certain Italian words. Suddenly something caught her attention, and she blushed. Back then Jinio had asked Nuna whether people really rejected the flowers or the person giving them. Nuna said not to waste time on someone who didn't like you, because insisting was disrespectful. But Jinio didn't need to worry about that anymore. Back in the present, he asked the girl if she needed help. It was the 4th day of the exchange program. The students were already desperately missing Korean food. One of them even pointed at a church, hoping kimchi stew would fall from the sky. Desperation was unlocking new abilities. Then they saw Jinio coming out of that very church. Jinio asked the guy to come rescue him because he was having a rough time. Sunmi's advice had worked. Thanks to her words, Jinio brought out initiative and courage he'd always kept hidden. The girls were surprised to see him talking to others. That confidence started spreading through the group. The girls began taking pictures with Jinio and uploading them online. The photos racked up a massive number of likes. The guys couldn't help but feel jealous. 2 hours later, they still couldn't believe girls kept approaching him. 5 hours in, almost all of them wanted a picture with him. For some weird reason, he ended up bonding more with the guys than with the girls themselves. Meanwhile, Jinio started dreading every tourist stop because he knew what was coming. Endless photos. Bro became a walking photo booth against his will. One of the guys said the ideal life was being just moderately good looking. Jinio fired back that even moderate needed moderation. Emotional damage, no patch notes. The girls couldn't figure out why all the guys were chasing after Jinio. One of them yelled at the crowd to stop bothering him. A guy was just about to catch up, and right then, the post crossed 10,000 likes. Timing so perfect it feels scripted. Out of nowhere, Jinio felt something was off, so he just stopped running. The guy behind him slammed straight into his back. Jinio suddenly felt like he was wearing something uncomfortable. Even standing slightly off posture now felt weirdly wrong. He remembered the card he'd received and asked the girls if they'd really uploaded the photos. They nodded, confirming the post had already passed 10,000 likes. After hearing that, Jinio started digging into it, convinced that strange feeling was tied to that number. He went to read comments from players who had unlocked the Reset Life forum. And there it was, everything he'd experienced since that very morning, written out. One comment claimed someone out there had been born solely to become a model. Jinio's nerves kicked in. He thought maybe they'd made 10,000 fake accounts. But the real hidden skill was being born with that talent without realizing it. And that just happened to be the requirement for unlocking the best ability. Balanced, as all broken systems are. Sitting in a gelato shop, Jinio reflected that he never expected to keep unlocking new abilities like this. He also started wondering about his limits and possible side effects. Because yeah, free power-ups usually come with a catch. Still, he was genuinely happy. First came CBT rewards, then OBT bonuses, and now even daily login perks. At this point, the game was being way too generous. The girls found it adorable watching Jinio basically star in chocolate and strawberry gelato ads. Then something caught his attention. He noticed a crowd gathering in one spot and looked confused. Naturally, he went to check what was going on. Someone nearby muttered that this needed to stop. Another person got a call telling them to pull their model out because the shoot had ended early. The man complained he'd never work with that agency again. They'd sent him the worst model possible. Meanwhile, Jinio started getting messages from his friends asking what was happening there. The photographer was frantically searching for something. The man asked if they should just redo the shoot the next day. Finally, the photographer found what he was looking for and smiled. Then he spotted Jinio. God definitely plays favorites, he said, telling the man to bring that Asian guy over no matter what. New objective, acquire talent, legally optional. There was a skill called on the hottest thing. It activated when all eyes were locked onto one person. Some people are just built to steal the spotlight. Meanwhile, Another man was biting his thumb in frustration. That was Leonardo, the model. He was furious about being replaced. Then he remembered some random amateur. The newbie had even asked a makeup artist what to do if his face started itching. Yeah, that's tutorial-level behavior. Leonardo also recalled the same photographer who had once rejected him. Watching Genio, the photographer commented that even in a crowd, his presence was impossible to ignore. Genio finished his call with Sunday. Then he told the photographer he'd already gotten approval from the supervisor to join the shoot. The photographer asked him point-blank if he was actually a professional model. Honestly, he didn't even care about the answer anymore. Genio stayed quiet for a few seconds before admitting he wasn't. Then suddenly, all the studio lights switched on. Genio assumed the question had triggered some kind of skill. And right at that moment, he became a professional model. Man unlocked a career mid-conversation. He still wasn't signed to any agency. Then out of nowhere, an elephant appeared because, sure, why not? The iron bars started snapping. The animal broke through them and bolted. The photographer was completely stunned, yet he kept shooting non-stop, praising Genio the entire time. He continued snapping photos while casually telling him to lift his chin a bit more. The other man watched nervously, just seeing the session. He could already picture the results when it was over. The photo shoot was complete. He was certain readers wouldn't be able to look away from those images. That's what real attention capture looks like. But one thought kept looping in his mind. Genio looked insanely good before he was ready to spit in the photographer's face if this went wrong. Now he fully understood the massive gap between them. Next morning in Seoul, South Korea, the sound of running shower water filled the room. Someone turned off the tap after finishing, then started drying their hair with a towel, and suddenly something caught him off guard. It was Genio staring at himself in the mirror once again, realizing how good-looking he was. Mirrors working overtime. At this point, Genio thought about how that overseas study trip had been packed with unforgettable experiences. He took part in a photo shoot and made plenty of friends. He even earned a solid amount of money from modeling. But out of everything he gained, what satisfied him most was buying gifts for his parents. A woman wearing a scarf was washing dishes with a big smile. Genio felt a bit nervous since those gifts were for both his mom and dad. He asked her why she was wearing the scarf so early in the day. Genio smiled when she said she just wanted to show off what her son bought her. Mother pride, max level unlocked. At an oil storage facility, several workers were chatting. One asked if that watch was new. Genio's father proudly showed it off, happy to wear the gift from his son. Meanwhile, birds flew across the sky. At the same time, Genio was having breakfast at home. His mother asked if he remembered Aunt Jinsu. Genio said yes, and recalled how she always looked down on both him and his mother. His mother, clearly irritated, explained that Jinsuk wanted to hire him as a private tutor for her son and asked what he thought about it. She was gripping her cup like it owed her money. She looked so mad she nearly cracked the mug until Genio calmly said that if it was a friend of hers asking, he could accept. He added he had zero intention of charging Aunt Jinsuk an outrageous fee, generous or strategically petty. Hard to tell. That answer instantly put a smile on his mother's face. Genio realized she had actually wanted to refuse out of pride, but didn't have a clean excuse to do it. Then she surprised him by bringing up Aunt Mayong's son. Genio remembered Mayong as the one person who had always supported both him and his mother. She even gave him a steady allowance, basically his sponsor. Before he had sponsors, she constantly looked out for him, and whenever needed, she'd step in to defend him, too. When Genio clarified he wasn't playing favorites between her friends, his mother looked genuinely relieved. After all, the money Mayong had given him over time was no small amount. Genio blushed, thinking how lucky he was to have gained the top student in the country ability. Yeah, RNG really said you're the main character. Later, he asked if his parents planned to attend his university entrance ceremony. He was already wearing the suit he'd gotten as a gift in Italy, and asked Jijuan what he thought. Still eating, Jijuan suddenly shouted that entering university meant officially stepping into adulthood, and a suit symbolized exactly that. Man delivered a TED Talk mid-bite. Even Genio's mother was surprised, commenting how much things had changed since her time. Jijuan had just unlocked fashion consultant mode out of nowhere. Genio headed off to the university, saying he'd call if he got back late. On the bus, he happily drifted through random thoughts. A peaceful moment, which means it won't last. Soon after he got off, the people nearby were so stunned they didn't even speak. Genio drew every eye the moment he appeared. He was the only student wearing a full suit. Everyone else started whispering because absolutely no one dresses like that for an entrance ceremony. Jinio began to tremble. He quickly texted Jia Tim Jones and instantly realized he'd been set up on purpose. Congratulations, you played yourself. Furious, Jinio decided he was going to kill Jia Tim Jones. Friendship level attempted murder unlocked. Meanwhile, over in the business administration department, chaos was brewing. Everyone was frantically searching for Jinio because he was supposed to deliver the freshman oath. One student suggested calling him. Small problem, no one had his number. They started arguing since basically nobody knew anything about him. He had skipped orientation and didn't even use social media. A guy explained he missed orientation because he was on an overseas study trip. At this point, they were already annoyed since another student was missing too. DY was confused when a friend told her to check her phone. On the screen was a photo of Jinio. The girls couldn't understand how he looked that good, even with part of his face covered. Visuals breaking physics again. Without noticing, they started blushing. One of them said there was no way someone like that could be a freshman in their department. Then they looked up when someone called out to them. It was Jinio, completely worn out. He asked if they were from the business administration department. The girls were stunned into silence. Daddy answered yes. Jinio introduced himself properly, then explained he was the one assigned to read the entrance oath. Finally, he apologized for being late. A guy responded sharply, saying that if there's a set time, it should be respected. He assumed Jinio was just acting important. But the moment he saw him up close, his expression shifted. He couldn't hide how impressive Jinio looked. Yeah, attitude patched instantly.